Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's good. Welcome to it. I'm super excited about this one. Welcome to actually our first webinar. People are jumping in. So many people are jumping in right now. Welcome to our first webinar. For those who don't know me, my name is Mr. Fingers. As you know, I am that cybersecurity guy. First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming in. Thank you for each and every one of you for making time to sign up for the webinar, first of all, and also making time, scheduling time to be here and to also being able to listen to our amazing guest who's going to be sharing his story, his journey, and also how he got into the industry. Not only that, but also the tips that he's going to share in terms of how it's been for him working in the industry as well, and all these things. So I don't want to spoil it as well, but I also want to thank our guest Thobani as well. He's an amazing guest. He's phenomenal. I also want to thank my team as well for also making this possible, and I also want to thank my team also for making this happen as well. This has been also an amazing event that we've been planning for quite some time, and we will be doing more events like this as well for you guys, obviously, because we understand that you guys have a lot of questions. You guys want to hear people's stories in terms of how they got into the industry as well, and we also want you to avoid certain things because I mean the internet is full of so much information where you can get so confused about everything in terms of how to get in, what to do, what not to do as well. So it's better for you to be prepared coming in the industry, knowing in terms of what to do, how to do it, and where to go to get certain materials as well. And being better prepared in everything that you do will help you stand out once you start your journey in the industry. Yes, I know that there are obviously some people here who are in the industry already. And also, I want to thank you as well for also coming through and making time. But not to waste time, ladies and gentlemen, I wanna introduce our amazing guest. He's a great friend of mine. Also, I've had the opportunity to work with him. He's a great threat intel. He's a senior cyber specialist, threat hunter. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Thobani.
Thanks, PK. Appreciate it, man. Maybe let me just switch on my camera. Let me just check. Yeah. Cool. I hope everyone can see me. This is just going to be on for the introduction, and then I'm gonna shut it off. But yeah, thanks for the introduction, PK. And for the kind words, man. It's also a pleasure working with you. But like just like Mr. Fingers has mentioned, this session is going to be entirely around just sharing information, because like with the digital space itself, we tend to find ourselves in like I could say a pool of information, and so with that being the case, it tends to be a bit difficult to know exactly like in which direction to go. And so with that being the case, again, a lot of people tend to get overwhelmed to a point whereby we get a bit blocked mentally, and to a point whereby we also get a bit discouraged to tackle whatever dreams that we have within the cyberspace. So yeah, I'm just gonna take you through my journey. And again, I hope everyone's going to understand that our journeys are not going to be the same, but all that we can do is just to learn from each other, and also just to be patient, because again, it's a journey. And never a destination, because someone can reach phase 2, and then they think that's where it ends. But then the more you see people doing things and the more you do your research, and just network, that's when you're going to see that there's more to this game. I call it a game because I see this as more of a battlefield, to be honest. Every time, whenever incidents come in, it's just my team and against the threat actors, which we see as villains. So yeah, not to waste any time, I'm just gonna share my screen, the presentation, and the camera is gonna be off. Cool. Please let me know if you can still hear me, if I'm still audible. All good things?
100%, we can still hear you. Yeah.
Sweet stuff, man. All right, let's get it cracking. Okay. Let's see. First, let me just share it from here. Just give me a minute. Let me stop sharing again. I just want to adjust it so I can have it in presentation mode, just not to spoil it. So this is what happens when you use to when you use to Microsoft Teams. But there we go. Should be all good now. Please give me a thumbs up when you can see the lovely, sweet stuff. So yeah, guys, yeah, with the session, we're gonna be taking questions after the whole presentation. Reason being, I think that would be best, just so I also don't lose my train of thought, to be honest, especially when there's a lot to share. So yeah, please feel free to maybe just drop questions on the chat, if that's possible, fingers. And you can also note them down, and then I'll just come back to you, and then yeah, I'll share whatever information that I have from my end. But as mentioned, my name is Thobani Njamela. I'm based in the city of Johannesburg. Yeah, I'm a Joburger, just like I believe maybe most people that are still trying to hustle. So based on what exactly we're going to be going through in this presentation, we're going to be touching on who exactly Thobani is, giving you some insights as to what exactly I've been through based on my journey, and then my daily operations, which are mostly linked to who I am, and then my view based on the cyberspace in general as to what I believe should be done and what I would advise people to do. And then the last point would be some nuggets, something to take, something that you can take with you, something hoping to, so just hoping that I can plant a seed in everyone's mind, something that you can move forward with. And then, so just to touch on my background, yeah, like I said, I'm Thobani Njamela. I'm basically a senior cyber specialist, specializing in MTR services at NEC Exxon. So we are pretty much based around Centurion. And then when looking at the other things which I do and also used to do, it's just freelancing. I mean, user interface designing and user experience designing. And overall, I'm a student. I'm a learner, always learning. Just like I said, there's no such thing as a destination. So the story is still going, to be honest. But yeah, that's pretty much who I am. And then your questions, especially around my profession. What exactly do I do? Like, what are my daily operations? So, to be honest, a lot of hats get to be worn throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. So, with that being the case, you'd find me hunting for some threats. By doing that, by doing that, I'm basically looking for what exactly organizations would be affected by, and that's something that happens internally within the organization. Just again to apply any mitigation actions, and then the other point is creating detection and response rules. This is something that can be created using different rules such as your Yara, your KQL, and your Sigma rules. So these are just some of the things that we also do instead of relying on what the EDR or whatever SIM solution that you have in place. And then the other thing that I also do on the side is to report to stakeholders. So with the role that I'm in, yeah, also responsible responsible for reporting to stakeholders. And so with that being the case, I pretty much just touch on what the team has been up to. I could say maybe throughout the month or throughout the week. And again, this wouldn't really be as possible if I didn't have the cyber team that I work with. And so that's why we always collaborate. And when I say cyber team, this also involves your architects, also involves your engineers and the MDR team itself. And then we also test systems. So by testing systems, this is us just trying to check for vulnerabilities. And again, testing them if they are exploitable, you understand, just playing around and breaking stuff if they can be broken. And the last 2 points, researching and learning. I believe this is basically the heart of being a specialist in something. I know as a person, you can't really be a jack of all trades, but at least you know something, you understand? At least you know something, even if they say you're a master of nothing. And so, yeah, with that being the case, this is something that I would highly recommend to most people. Never stop researching, so you can never stop learning, you understand? And I believe with these last 2 points being in the center of everything, that's how I myself am able to play all those other roles, such as your threat hunting, creating roles, and also being able to find different ways into testing systems. And then the question might be, what exactly do I use to perform my day-to-day operations? So there are various tools, to be honest, that I use to perform all those tasks throughout the day, and I just categorize them. But then within every domain here, you'd find a different solution because where I work, to be honest, I'm fortunate enough, I don't want to lie. Where I work, we don't really focus on the technology. We're not really vendor specialists, to be honest. And so, with us not being vendor specialists, it allows us to be more flexible. You understand? Someday, maybe you might find an organization that's going through a breach, and then we might have to respond to that breach. And so, with that being the case, we just have to be flexible in terms of using whatever technology that we get to be presented with. And so I work with SIM solutions specifically at times working with your curator here and there. But then Microsoft Sentinel is basically one of the most used solutions there. And then when you're talking about a SIM solution, this is basically what is basically used as I usually look at it as the hub. So I usually look at it as the hub of events, of security events. The reason why I say so is because this is what makes it possible for you to get different logs from different security solutions. So with that being the case, you just focus on this one main platform that gives you an overview of all the other technologies that you have within your environment. So yeah, I also work with SIM solutions. And the other one is a EDR solution. But then now most vendors are creating XDRs. So with EDRs, this is mostly around detecting any malicious threats within your endpoints. By endpoints, I mean your can be your workstation, standard workstation, your servers, and also your cloud infrastructure. And so yeah, and so with that being the case, it makes it possible for my team actually to get a broader view of what's happening within those those resources, and again also being able to apply the daily operation points which I've mentioned to you, such as your hunting, your threat hunting, and also creating those custom detection rules. And someone might be asking themselves, what exactly is the difference between an XDR and EDR? So an EDR mainly focuses on your, I could say, it mainly focuses on your endpoints. Your endpoints, it can be servers, can be your laptops, it can be you can also call it your desktops. But then now, when you're looking at your extended detection and response, this is where you also include the cloud overview, you understand? And now we're also including your cloud applications. We're now including your email security. So this is a fully fledged, unified detection and response, which covers everything within one platform. Just to give you an example, for instance, you get one from Trend Micro, which is called the Vision One, and you also get one from Microsoft, which is called Microsoft 365 Defender. So they move from being an EDR solution and they are no more of an XDR solution. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. And then we also focus on vulnerability assessments. So with vulnerability assessments, this is more of our proactive approach. And again, this is basically what we believe in from NEC, and also what I believe in as an individual, that being proactive is what would make you win within this game. And so always keeping tabs on the vulnerabilities of your system is really key. And so different solutions are used to do this. We also use some open source solutions such as your Nessus community plan. And so with that being used, we are now able to assess systems and just check vulnerabilities and then communicate with relevant stakeholders to get them patched. And if there's an exploit available for that, yeah, here and there would basically just try to play around and see if we can if we can get something out of it. So yeah, that's just the fun part of it with getting the vulnerabilities. And then the other one is hunting of queries. And again, this also touches on the approach of being proactive. So with this being the case, we're basically hunting what's within the organization, just scraping whatever data that organizations have, and just investigating the devices that are being managed there. Because one thing that we should keep in mind is malicious files can be stored on devices for days, months, if organizations are not aware and if they don't have the proper solutions. And so if they are there for months and or days, it can lead to an attack, because what threat actors would do in most cases is just plant that one seed, and that one seed can be a malicious file, and that malicious file would later be used to exploit to the device and maybe just compromise whatever account that's identified on that device. So that's the whole purpose of us always hunting for these threats from devices. Even though now we live in a world which basically makes use of your machine learning and artificial intelligence, which again would pick up these malicious indicators from devices. But we always try to make means to also just be a bit more hands-on, because let's be honest, guys, we can't really be relying on the technology, you understand? By technology, I mean AI, machine learning. If someone might say, but it's smarter than you, but we humans are the ones that created it. You get my point? And so if that's the case, that means we can't really rely on it, because we're the ones that dictate as to how it should think based on the models that you feed it, you understand? So yeah, that's what we basically do when it comes to hunting with queries. And moving on to the STEM. So a STEM is a continuous threat exposure management. So this is something that you can also compare with, there's another word for it, which is called an external surface attack exposure. And so what I mean by this is it's just always checking what the customers or just an organization's exposure is. You understand? What I mean by that is checking if they have any public facing systems, and if they're exploitable. You get my point? Because in most cases you'd find maybe what example can I give you? The most common one. So in most cases you can get an Outlook web application which is externally exposed, and that externally exposed Outlook application doesn't have any multi-factor authentication, and again, maybe it has a weak password, or maybe some other credentials have been dumped somewhere within the dark web. So, so with the STEM, with the capabilities of the STEM, we are now able to basically scrape the dark web. We're basically able to scrape the dark web, and we're also able to just scrape the internet in general, the web in general, to just see what's out there which can be used against organizations. And again, guys, this is another proactive approach, because it's best that you find the threats before the threat actors use them against organizations. And again, this is mostly in line with your initial access brokers. So those are basically people that try to get credentials elsewhere and then sell them within the black markets, within the dark web. I think that was a mouthful, something maybe that's a bit too much. But yeah, if you have any questions around this, please just keep them tight, and then yeah, we'll get to them. And then moving on to the next part. My journey. So me being the person that I am today, you might be asking yourself, okay, like, where did this guy start? How did he get here? And before going through this, I'd like everyone to understand, like, where you start is not really what's going to determine where you're going to end up, to be honest, if I'm being fair. The reason why I'm saying that is because you all come from different backgrounds, and we are not all going to be able to start on phase one. So on the same phase one. So our phase ones are not going to be the same. That's valid. That's a fact. You understand? So with me, yeah, I guess I could say maybe I was fortunate enough to be able to enroll in a networking course. And so I could say that networking course really helped me to get it to understand the foundation of IT itself, because I look at networking more like the backbone of IT, because that's what makes everything connect. You understand? If two endpoints are literally connected through, let's say, maybe a LAN cable, that's you can call that some sort of you can call that a network. You get my point. So now, with that being the case, I was able to understand how everything works. Even though, to be honest, like when you're starting to break into the field, you don't know exactly what's happening. Even though that curiosity and passion is making you move forward, but yeah, I was just able to understand exactly how IT works, specifically within the networking field. And then from there on, I basically ventured into programming. The reason why I'm saying venture is because I was basically looking to create, if I could say, something like a mobile app for myself. So me and my friend had this one great idea, but then we just didn't have the money to get a company to program the application for us to a point whereby I basically enrolled in a programming course, something that I did for, I could say, 12 months. 12 months, but then, even when the course is finished, you understand, try to teach yourself whatever it is that you get within the internet. And then thereafter, oh snap, I didn't number them correctly. Apologies, guys. So after the programming phase, I went on to freelancing. So with the freelancing, this is where I basically combined everything that I've learned. So this was my programming and my UI UX design skills. So the UI UX design skills is basically you designing how a website or a mobile application would look, you understand? And then with that being the case, I went on to develop these, you understand? Even though they were not as high level, but then I was still able to understand how programming languages work, because this, I could say, it's really beneficial, especially within cybersecurity. I'm not saying that it's a must to know how to program, but then just knowing, you understand, how programming languages work and how they are compiled, based on the syntax as to how they look, how the functions work, and everything. So yeah, I was able to freelance and just render some services as a hustle, just so people can, just so I can solve some problems for some people. And then thereafter, after some time, I managed to score some internship. And so this internship is what basically introduced me to cybersecurity. Like when you're just trying to get something, when you're just trying to get something and you're open-minded, you literally dive into anything that you feel can benefit you. And I was fortunate enough to land in this field, which is cybersecurity. And this is where I started learning, you understand? Oh, look, I even made a typo there. I even made a typo. I was in a rush. Fingers can also tell you. So yeah, I was also learning within this phase. This is where I was just trying to collect as much information as possible, because the aim was to bring value within whichever organization that I'll be setting my foot in. Especially with cybersecurity being, I could say, a competitive field. Yes, we are helping each other, but then the unfortunate thing is when working for companies, they're basically looking for the person that can do the job well, you understand? And if that's the case, that means you need to know exactly what you're doing. So yeah, this is where I try to gather as much information as possible and just to see and understand exactly what am I getting myself into and who do I want to be within this field. Especially considering the fact that there's a lot that happens. There's a lot that happens within cybersecurity, and people need to understand that there's also a lot of domains within cybersecurity. So it's not like, if I could say, maybe I'm wrong here, it's not like I don't want to make it sound like I'm shading other career fields, but yeah, it's not like teaching, if I may put it like that. When you're teaching, you're just teaching, understand, despite the fact that you're teaching different subjects. But then within cybersecurity, you have different domains, and all those domains might consist of maybe some sort of a cyber breach eventually, but then how they are conducted is very different, understand? And then after the internship, I managed to get my big break, and the big break for me the big break for me, I would say, is when I managed to deal with some major incidents. By major incidents, I mean organizations getting close to being breached. You understand? Me working with the team that's solidified in a sense of having a proper structure, having a proper plan, and just being able to defend organizations from cyber threats. And yeah, like if people don't call us the new age superheroes, then I don't know who that is, to be honest. But I can tell you guys, at this point in time, especially where the world is going, being the digital age, I must say, like, cyber specialists are the new superheroes. Like, we don't need capes. I think our laptops are literally our capes, to be honest. And so, yeah, that's basically when I got my big break. So even currently, with what I'm doing now, just being busy with the MTR team, solving a lot of problems on a daily, to be honest, and also just diving into a P1. A P1 is a high priority, whereby we could say it's a confirmed breach or possible breach. Diving into a war room Friday evenings. I think that's pretty common on a Friday evening, and just trying to solve the problem. So that's what I consider my big break, to be honest, because that's what opened my eyes and made me understand that there's a lot into cyber, and there's a lot that happens on the back end, and a lot of companies are basically in a tough position, if I may be honest. Okay. And then moving on to certificates. I know this is I know this is something that a lot of people tend to ask themselves. What should I get in order to get into this company? And to be fair, I think a lot of companies tend to be unfair when it comes to their requirements, because I know even on LinkedIn, this is something that they've touched on a lot, that a lot of companies are not realistic. And so, with that being the case, I think a lot of people tend to get overwhelmed. They even ask themselves if they are worthy, you understand, or if they'll ever get into the field. And I'm going to tell you guys, I believe it's highly possible. It's highly possible. Sometimes you just have to take a shot. I'm not going to lie. You just have to take a shot. But when it comes to my view, so this is Thobani's view. Please don't shoot me after this, but if I may be honest, I believe skills are more valuable than certificates. That's my valid point. You understand? I believe skills are more valuable than certificates. The reason why I'm saying so is because a certificate is it a simple example. A certificate can expire, right? A certificate can expire, but your skill is something that will never expire. But the unfortunate thing is when you're rendering your service or your skills to an organization, this is something that you need to have. Do you get my point? Especially considering the fact that, like I said, we're basically in a competitive field. So the only way that these organizations can weigh whether we are worth the position or not is through certs. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, it all boils down to what you're capable of, which is your skills. Understand? If you're able to make the ball roll in the direction that it needs to, I believe you're more than good. You understand? But then now the certificates are just that one. It's basically your stripes. Like if you're in the army or navy, these are basically your stripes to show that okay, I'm able to do this, and for the organizations to also see the receipts. You understand? So when it comes to me, so yeah, I'm mostly certified. With Microsoft certs. So these range from your fundamentals, associates, and experts. And these certificates are mostly in line with what happens on cloud. This is cloud engineering. I'm trying to implement. Working with cloud resources, and then the others are mostly in line with Microsoft security. apologies, which is in line with the capabilities of Defender and also your Microsoft Sentinel. So yeah, these are basically the sets which I hold when it comes to Microsoft. And the other ones which I have at CCM Security. So this is one platform which I'd recommend. Unfortunately, it's a platform that requires, it's more subscription based. Like at some point, I think last year there used to be, it was more of a, they were not subscription based. So you'd basically purchase a course, and then yeah, you'd get like unlimited access to that course. But now there's I think a monthly based subscription, and then there's also I think there's also, yeah, there's monthly and annual subscriptions. So yeah, I'd really recommend that. So within TCM Security, I hold certificates which are in line with your OSINT. Please just note that down. I think, again, this is something which is very important. And within cybersecurity itself, I believe it's something that a lot of people, especially people within our field, that we need to know a lot about OSINTs, because that's where everything starts. If we can all refer back to the cyber kill chain, something that I'm also going to show you guys here. OSINT is basically the first point, your reconnaissance, or even pre that, you understand, whereby you gather as much information about your target. So OSINT is that. I advise a lot of people to look into that. Even on YouTube, yeah, I believe the TCM security site, or maybe you can just search Heat Adams. It's also available there on YouTube. And then the other one, it's a Python. So this is I could call it a legacy system certificate. This is a certificate that I managed to get some time ago, and something that I'm proud of, because the Python language, if it were up to me, I would say everyone should learn Python. The reason why I'm saying so is because of its capabilities, you understand? And again, with the machine learning and artificial intelligence, this is one of the languages that started booming because of the flexibility and how dynamic it is. And again, you also get a lot of malware that tends to be created through this, even though C# is like the high level of malware, because it speaks mostly to it's more of your low level language, if I may put it like that. Since it's more close to your hardware. And then the other one is Dark Trace. So this is another certificate which I believe it brings a lot of value, if I may be honest, because it's mostly in line with your network assessment. What you see within, you're basically getting a bird's eye view of what's happening within the organization. So yeah, these are all the certificates, which are, these are just some of the sets which I have from my side. But then, like I said, guys, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. The main thing is to gather as much skills as possible and just try to see which ones would really bring value to you. Because again, we're not all trying to be specialized in the same thing within cybersecurity. Because even with me, I might be within the MDR team, but to be honest, I'm a person that doesn't like titles, if I'm being honest, unfortunately. I don't like titles because I believe they put us in a box, you get me? And your mind gets fixated with that, oh, okay, I'm this person, you understand? So just try to be as open-minded as possible, and don't let your certificate determine your future in terms of who you're going to be, you understand? And just try to venture out as much as possible. Just be a tree, branch out as much as possible. Okay, so I'm now going to touch on my view, right? So I put this slide up just so I can make everyone understand as to what I believe all us as cyber specialists should understand and what exactly we should be looking into. So yeah, like the first thing which I'd like to put out there is that we should understand who we up against. The reason I'm saying that is because I think we sometimes go into the battlefield not knowing who we are up against, you understand? And I think sometimes that can hinder us, you understand, from reaching that end goal, the end goal being defending the organizations. And the reason why I'm advocating this so much is because there's a lot that we can learn from the threat actors, to be fair. I'm not siding with them, but I'm just trying to be fair. And if you can also read the quote there at the bottom by Sun Tzu, is to know your enemy, you must become your enemy. And I totally agree with that. So now, with me putting up the micro attack here, this is something that I would like everyone to refer to at some point. I'm going to drop the link on the chat just so you can look through this. This is something that I would consider as some sort of a Bible. Apologies. Yeah, apologies. Though I didn't mean to bring religion into this, but I mean, this is something that we should all study, you understand? Because what the micro attack does, it gives you a nice view, you understand? Nice view, nice understanding of who exactly you're up against, and it gives you ways of understanding how to defend against those attacks, if you get what I'm saying. Like, for instance, the reconnaissance phase, just like I mentioned, it's all about gathering as much information as possible, you understand? But then now you need to understand what techniques and tactics are being used in order by threat actors to gather that information. You understand? And that's basically one of the phases that OSINT plays a major role in. You understand? For example, if I may put it out there, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the major, I could say it's one of the major social media platforms which are for professionals. You understand? And so LinkedIn is what threat actors can use to get information about their targets. Understand? If someone wants to try to hack me, they'll possibly try to use LinkedIn. You understand? Get as much information, check my contacts, see who I've been in communication with, and just try to impersonate whoever I've been in contact with. You get my point? And so this is what the Mitra Tech teaches us, that an attack is based on phases. And in order for you to be able to defend organizations from these attacks, you need to understand what phase is a threat actor on. For instance, if a threat actor were to be if a threat actor were to be moving from from one endpoint to another, that means they're moving laterally. You understand? That means they're pretty close to impact, you understand, or exfiltrating data. Because if they are now starting to move laterally, that means they know where they're trying to get to. And one of the crown jewels would be a domain controller. You understand? So by me, or maybe by you now understanding that, oh, okay, so now they're now moving laterally, what should I do? Comes in the part of understanding, okay, which entities are compromised? You get me? Which entities are compromised? Is it an endpoint or is it an account? You understand? And in most cases, if they're moving laterally, that means multiple endpoints were affected and there's one account which is possibly being used to move around. And the question is, what do I do about that? You obviously need to cut down the account because that account is compromised and it's being used to move around the organization. You understand? And by me even telling that story, it just shows what value the micro attack can basically teach you about the attacks. And again, it's not something that you can know within a day or a month. I guess, yeah, we don't all learn things as fast and in the same pace. But I'd highly advise everyone to look into this. It's highly valuable. And if we can all keep it as some sort of a handbook or a reference guide, yeah, it would really bring value within our positions and organizations that we serve. I hope that's clear. And then for the tips, in closing again. So, yeah, guys, like these are just some of the things that I would like everyone. And again, this is just from me, you understand? I'm not saying we should all do things like Thobani, but this is just my advice to you, you understand? The first point is to try to be as open-minded as possible, especially if you're still trying to find yourself within cybersecurity, because cybersecurity involves a lot of things, but a lot of things, I mean, different domains, you understand? And so with that being the case, if you are not open-minded, understand, you'll hinder your growth. You'll hinder your growth in a sense that it won't be that easy for you to learn new things, and it won't be that easy for you to take criticism. And I think criticism is one thing that we take for granted. You understand? I understand there's some people that try to weigh you down, but then criticism is something that you should really look into, to be honest, and just pay attention to, and just see how you can better yourself from that. And then the other one is researching. By researching, I mean try to read up on the latest breaches and cyber threats. By doing that, you'll understand what threat actors are doing out there, you understand? And this also goes back to this page, you understand? Like I said, I'm one person that advocates for everyone to learn, you understand, how threat actors operate. And to be honest, I should thank I should thank the head of our BU, Armand Kruger. Yeah, that's basically one person that instills that within the culture, you understand, for us to understand how threat actors work and just try to see how we can stop them, you understand. So yeah, big shout out to him. Yeah, like yeah, I think the people that know him, Fingers being one of them, and maybe the other people from my team that have joined, can really back me up with everything that I'm saying there. So yeah, with that being the case, researching, understanding your threat actors, it really does, to be honest, help. You understand? And so with that being the case, you just need to read on the latest cyber breaches and cyber threats. And to be honest, there's a lot that also happens within South Africa around the cyber security space. There's a lot that happens, but we just need to, you understand, dig deep and just open our eyes in terms of which spaces are we in, that the information is being shared. And then the other one is labs. So with labs, yeah, like the reason why I put Try Hack Me there, I'm not mainly focusing on Try Hack Me, but the reason I put Try Hack Me there is because I think it's one of the most affordable platforms which provides great resources, you understand, great resources not just for attacking like your red teaming, hacking, you understand, but even for engineers and even people that want to get into governance, if I'm not mistaken. But I think TCM also does offer that. And so with that being the case, I might advise people to just try to work on labs, because labs are what test your knowledge practically, you understand. The labs are what basically make you understand, okay, this is the level that I'm on, you understand. So this is something that I really, really, really advise a lot of people to tap into. It's also unfortunate that most of the labs are are basically subscription based. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Fingers has shared some resources or labs which are open source, or we could say free, within the net. But yeah, guys, working on labs really does bring value, because it also helps you to harness your skills. Because remember, our plan is not to be stagnant, but it's to learn as much as possible. So maybe just look into that. And just a heads up, with Try Hack Me, I think they usually have a promo on December whereby you get a one year subscription for $5, if I'm not mistaken. $5 or $1, I'm not sure. So I think that always happens on Christmas or Black Friday, if I'm not mistaken. And with that, you'd be basically sacrificing, I think, 90 or $100, understand, if you were to get that course. So yeah. And then the other one is to network. So networking is something that I think we really take for granted, because sometimes maybe, but and again, by networking, I don't mean just chilling there, you understand, but just trying to loosen up in the sense of engaging with people, trying to ask as much as possible, because maybe my belief is a person that asks questions is not the dumb one, you understand, but the one that assumes that they know is, you understand, the one that might not know everything. So ask as much questions as possible, you get my point, because at the end of the day, no one knows everything, you understand. And so LinkedIn, I could say it's one of the good platforms when it comes to that. So trying to reach out as much as possible to people, and also understanding that not everyone can help you. Unfortunately, not everyone can help you, but what you can do is learn from other people's experiences, you understand. So the best thing, even with me, like what I used to do was just try to reach out to people and ask them, okay, how did you get from point A to point B? Even though I understand that my journey is not going to be the same as this, but at least there are some pointers that I can just take with me, which can then help me within my journey, you understand. So I believe that's how these platforms need to be used, just reaching out to people, get some advice, and see how you can use it. And again, guys, be a doer. Be a doer. But what I mean by be a doer is try to do as much as you say. You get my point? Because I think being complacent, and being complacent is, yeah, it's a trap. It's a trap. So yeah, that's the one. And then the last one, it's always trying to balance your work life and your life in general. The reason why I'm saying that is because, yeah, like I think cybersecurity is a lot on its own, to be honest. It's a lot. It's a lot, especially if you're a person that deals with even, yeah, incidents in general, having to come up with the solution, having to advise, you understand, having to advise, having to solve problems, you understand, it's a lot. And so I think having a balance between the two would really make you more productive, because burnouts is real, guys. Burnouts are real. Like I know, like people really do get burnt out, you understand, to a point whereby they can't perform the way that they would like to, you understand. And I was also reading up some other story on LinkedIn. Some guy, I can't remember which company, but he works for one of those big companies which provide cybersecurity services. I think he's more of an incident responder. I think there was a point whereby he was saying he worked so hard, like with incident responses and everything, to a point whereby he had a heart attack and landed in hospital. Understand? But then he said he doesn't blame the organization. It was just him. You understand? Always carrying the responsibilities on his back. I don't blame him. Like if you're passionate, you do get that thrill, you understand, to solve the problems and never stop. But you always have to remind yourself that you also have a life and you're also a human being, you understand. So you just need to tone it down a bit and just let the other people play their parts, you understand, and just be there for your own people. So these are the tips which I have, guys, and that's pretty much it from my side. I hope I covered everything that you would be mostly interested in. But if that's not the case, please feel free to drop something on the chat and let me know if you want to know something. Yeah, like I said, like Mr. Fingers also preaches, this is basically a community, you understand? And so, with that being the case, um, it's all about lending, you understand, a hand and just sharing whatever that you know, because at the end of the day, you're not losing anything from sharing, you understand. You're just lighting another person's candle. So yeah, guys, that's me. Thobani Njamela, MDR specialist at NECX on. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Thobani. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Thobani. So, Thobani, here's a few questions that we have. So, I'm going to start reading from the chat. So, I'm going to read from the chat and then go to one person who picked up their hand. So, this question is from Hope. They say, what are the time frame for each journey you went through?
Yo, I don't want to lie, because I'm assuming you are basing this on the roadmap, right? The roadmap which I had there. So like every other course within a tertiary institution would be like 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. And then, like I said, that was 1 year, the programming one, so that's 4. And then there was freelancing. That's something that even overlapped when I was busy studying with some other things. But overall, I can say plus minus 5 years, plus minus 5 years, 5, 6 years, to be honest.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I saw a hand. I don't think I see that hand anymore. So I don't know what the person is. So I'll take one question from the crowd for any person who wants to unmute themselves and they can ask a question. Sure, Matsidiso. Yeah.
Hi, Matsiriso.
Okay, let me try to.
Think she needs to
Matsidiso.
off.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take another question in the meantime because I can't seem to get Matsidiso on. Another person who has a question. I'm gonna read through some of the questions, yeah. So in the meantime, while people are still thinking, so this other person says, yes, skills are available. are very valid. However, how do you highlight the skills we have acquired through various certifications in respective of the certifications that would expire over time?
Let me understand the question first. I don't want to just jump. How do you highlight the skills we have acquired through certification? Oh, okay. So certificates, firstly, right?
Mhm.
Certificates differ, to be honest. You get certificates that are skills based, and then you get certificates that are just theoretical. You understand? And so by certificates that are skills based, that would be the ones which are referenced by oh no, I thought Katlego reference to your what's this? The certificates which are basically provided by what's this offensive security. So most of the offensive security certificates are more skills based, you understand? And then you also get certificates that are mostly theoretical, you understand? But then as I was saying, organizations are mostly relying on certificates in most cases, and then your skills would have to prove your are there to just prove yourself. So yeah, certificates honestly differ, but like as I was saying, if it were up to me, I would be mostly basing it on skills. How I would do that based on the hiring process, I'll probably have some sort of a lab. Understand? Have a lab, maybe capture a flag or something. Also, again, depending on what role you are there for. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Claire.
100%. Thank you so much, Thobani. So I'll take one question from the crowd. Anybody wants to throw in a question right there who wants to speak? I'll let you speak. You can raise your hand and then you can go ahead. Sure.
Tando.
Ando.
Yeah,
Q
Tando,
for
you want
Tando.
to introduce yourself?
There you
Hello, I wanted to ask about because I heard that you spoke about C sharp that they use it to create malware. So I wanted to ask in terms of the programming languages that hackers use to hack into the system. It's like what are those programming languages that one needs to know so that they're able to be defensive against them and know how to. Yeah, that's all I wanted to ask.
Hey, Tando, it sounds like a kind of making, yeah. Um, no, man. To be honest, it really depends. Because the reason I'm saying it depends because every threat has a different objective. If I'm making sense, there's a malware that will try to basically pay attention to what you're basically which keys you're pressing. And then there would be some sort of a malware that would try to exfiltrate data, or maybe just try to, I could say, make some sort of an outbound connection, you understand, which is called more of a C2 beacon. So it really depends because you do get some people that try to use JavaScript, even though JavaScript is not a heavy, I could say, programming language, as it's highly just used for websites. But you do get a lot. I don't want to just specify one and then you run with it. You get me? But I can just maybe check something for you, and then
It's still there. What happened to him? Okay. Thobani, is still here? I think he's gone. I think it's gone. But anyway, we still have a few more questions. I think he's going to come back. I'm going to double check with him. He's coming back. Okay, there we go. He's coming back. Cool, Thobani, you just disappeared right there, man. But anyway, I'm going to read the next question for you. I don't know if you can hear me, right?
yeah, I can hear you. Apologies, guys.
No, no stress.
This is
So the next question is actually from Blessings. Blessing says, did you start as a SOC? This is obviously before you moved on to threat hunting. So did you start in the SOC and then moved on to threat hunting?
yeah, I did. That was also part of I could say part of my internship. So I was more of a SOC analyst. But yeah, like I think just to answer that question, yeah, like just to answer that question with a bit more clarity, I think SOC analysts would differ by organization. You get my point, based on your roles and responsibilities, because you can be called a SOC analyst in this one company, but then your roles and responsibilities are different based on the other organization. But yeah, I did kick things off as a SOC analyst, which was mostly around monitoring and reporting, whatever that was on the SIEM solution that we are monitoring there.
100%. Thank you so much. Then we have the next question, which I see a hand up, which is Tando. We're going to take 2 more questions, then we're closing off.
Yeah.
Tando.
I wanted to ask about, because I heard was a data benching there at Discovery that happened this past days, and they said when I read the news, they saying they bypassed the phases that were in place, like the multi-effect, the MFA, and then the biometric. So I wanted to ask, and they said it's a whaling that they did on the system of Discovery on the insurance side. So I would like to know what is it that made them bypass that, and so that you can be aware of these latest threats that are happening out there.
I'm not sure if I heard him correctly. So yeah, I did see the article. I think the article was the person that spread the article out wide was one of, if I'm not mistaken, one of the investors of Discovery. If she's not an investor, I think she also owns another company. It's some other lady, she's a CEO. But I didn't go through the article thoroughly, right? But one point that she mentioned there was the data was basically out there in the wild, dark web being one of them. And so Discovery didn't like send out any apologies, allegedly. You understand? I don't want to be crucified for this, but but to answer your question, based on multi-factor authentication being bypassed, so Tando, there are basically various tools which can be used to do this. And again, this can also depend on the login interface that is being, I could say, exploited. Such as, for instance, one good example, maybe if you're logging onto Outlook through your Office 365 account, so you put in your password, you put in your username, your email address, and you put in your password and you put in your MFA. You authenticate, it gets approved, but to find out that you get redirected back to signing in again, that probably means there was a proxy. You understand, that there was a proxy that basically redirected your authentication. You understand, to someone's system. So one of the tools that you can look into is called Evil Jinx. That's one popular tool that's being used to exploit those authentications. And then if you're talking about biometrics, in terms of, I heard you were saying the biometrics were exploited in some way. What is it, MFA or fingerprint? What was it?
I think it was MFA.
MFA. Okay. I guess maybe
Yeah.
that answered your question then. But then, yeah, when
Yeah.
there's various tools. Tando has his hand up again.
We already took your question, Tando, unfortunately. So I'm going to go to Oreo. I saw Oreo also, they had a hand up before we close off. Oreo, you had a question. Yeah.
Hello,
Oreo,
can you guys hear me?
100%, yes.
Yes. You briefly touched on it like for like 5 seconds about governance, and most webinars focus more on the red team. I just wanted to ask if you know how people broke into that side of cybersecurity, GRC, like maybe your colleagues if they told you their story and how people can get into that side.
Okay. To be honest, with GRC, right, since it's mostly based on governance, just having that basic background of IT, I believe I would say it's a must, because at the end of the day, you need to understand exactly what is your governance being based on. You get my point. What is it being based on? But there are also like the tools which are referred to, not the tools, is, and the other one, if I would have something around that, is try hack me. But then if I can just touch on the people that I've worked with that are around the governance space, it's just, again, some people are fortunate and some people have to work for it. You understand? Some people are just starting things off from the side of just being a startup IT specialist and knowing all these other domains within IT, such as networking, being more specific, you understand? And then they started diverting into governance, how an organization, you understand, should should apply its procedures based from an IT perspective, you understand, and how should risks be managed, you get my point, and how to comply with everything that's happening within the organization. I hope that answers the question. But the baseline of it all, to be honest, is just knowing your IT fundamentals and knowing the risks that are basically out there, and how to mitigate them through whatever tools that are out there.
100%. And we will have a GRC guest next time. So obviously that's going to be also interesting. So I'll take one last question. Matsi, so I'll bring you back again. In fact, we can't bring back Matsadiso.
I
Cool.
think
I'm
Hope
gonna
also,
have to Hope. Yeah, you can bring in Hope. Hope.
Hi, can you hear me?
yeah,
Yes, we
yes, you
can.
can.
Yeah, so I've decided to upskill in AWS. However, before then, I was actually contemplating between cybersecurity and cloud. So I think I'm quite aware that with also AWS, I can like at some point, cut corners and go to cybersecurity, but I'm not sure how. But if you do have an idea as to how I can like revert to cybersecurity at some point while I'm in the cloud space, like how do you think I can go about it? Or yeah.
Yeah. No, cool, man. Yeah, firstly, all the best. All the best. Like I said before, it's not about where or how you're starting, you understand. But it's mostly about where to from there. You get my point. So with AWS, you're honestly starting off well, to be honest, because the cloud space is where it's at. To branch out into security, AWS does provide certificates that are around security. I think one of them is called AWS Certified Security. So that's within the security accounts and other resources that you're going to be managing within AWS. And then you can branch out to other vendors like your Microsoft if you want to. I hope that answers your question. Cool stuff.
Cool. Thank you so much. I was actually speaking when my mic was actually on mute. Unfortunately, those are all the questions for now that we have to take. But if you do have more questions, obviously you can still send me an inbox, and then obviously I can go ask Thobani, and I'll come back to you guys with an answer. But I really appreciate you guys for coming through to the webinar and making time as well. And Thobani, thank you again for agreeing to do this and being a speaker and answering everybody's questions. And just sharing more insights, your experience, what you have learned, and what are you currently doing, and also the materials in terms of what to learn and what to do next. Thank you so much for everything. And yeah, thank you guys once again for coming through to the webinar. And we're still going to have many more. So really appreciate it. Thank you.
Sweet stuff. Thanks, guys. All the best.